Jesus on the main line, tell him what you want. Jesus on the main line, tell him what you want. Jesus on the main line, tell him what you want. Call him up, tell him what you want. And if you want your body healed, tell him what you want. And if you want your body healed, tell him what you want. If you want your body healed, tell him what you want. Call him up, tell him what you want. Jesus on the main line, tell him what you want. Jesus on the main line, tell him what you want. Jesus on the main line, tell him what you want. Call him up, tell him what you want. Welcome back to another piano lesson. Piano Lesson with Warren. This is the place where you learn about gospel piano and how to play gospel piano by ear. So if this is something that you want to get better at, you want to learn more about, you have stumbled on the right channel. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and the like button so you can be notified when we post new content. Today we're going to take a look at traditional gospel bass line. Yeah, Black History Month, so we're continuing looking back in history of African American gospel music and some of the characteristics. Last week we looked at how to play if you're doing the keyboard stuff solely, but now I'm going to show you how to play the bass line on keyboard, because as a keyboardist, at some point you may have to run that bass, and I'm going to give you some tips, things that helped me along the way to be able to develop this style. All right, so stay tuned. All right, so first of all, let me say, being able to walk bass line in the left hand, playing chords and improvise and lines and stuff in the right hand, it's not a beginner's task. It is a complicated task, and it's something that took me years to sort of learn how to do, but it's such a cool skill to work on, and you can definitely develop the skill too, but you really need to treat each of these skills as two separate things, right? So for many years, I just sort of practiced the bass line by itself. So I'd probably record the right hand chords so I can play against something, and then practice that bass line, and then slowly but surely introduce that right hand until you're able to put them together. But it also means that you must know the chords of the song. You must be comfortable with the right hand, because 99% of the time my right hand in this context is playing rootless voicing chords. And that's one of the key when you're playing split keyboard, bass, and piano. To make things sound good and move more efficiently, you have to get comfortable playing your rootless voicing. So here I have my keyboard split, the bass down here. I split it up to this E and then transition into piano. Because I figured the lowest I come down to play the chords is here, but if I wanted, I could split it closer, So that's one of the cool thing. And then if I'm playing, so like in this song, I'm starting the song's in the key of C. So instead of playing a C7 like that, I may start like that. That's C9, right? So when I go to my F, look what I'm playing on right hand. It's an F9, but without the root. Then I'm doing like a turnaround. So you see all those chords, rootless voicing. And that's something that you have to get comfortable just working on first, because most of my sort of mental process and attention is really being focused on that left hand, not the right hand. So you really have to get that right hand up to speed with just really knowing the chords, so you don't have to really spend too much time figuring out those chord traces. And by the way, everything I played in the intro of this video, if you want those things, you can download it for free. The link is in the description, and that's going to include the MIDI file of everything I played. So if you put it in a MIDI player, you can see the exact bass line I walk. And so you can study that. You can also study my right-hand chord voicing. I'm also going to throw in the backing track, and I'm going to throw in 3 versions of that backing track, a slow one, a sort of medium one, and the up-tempo fast one. So you can start to practice this stuff. So all of that's available for free. The link is in the description of this video. Now let's talk about the 6 tips that I want to share with you regarding walking bass line. The first thing is that feel of gospel walking bass line. We play at a more what I call portato style opposed to legato. Portato is sort of slightly detached. Legato would be smooth. Now most of that playing needs to be on the portato side. So you might see me doing. So you see, it's like it has this bounce to it. And that's one of the things, the common style of gospel music. That's a very unique characteristics of that old school style. You got to get that bounce. It's just a lot of bounce in that left hand. Occasionally, you might play some stuff legato. So legato would be the. That's more characteristics with jazz, that more smooth walk bass line. Gospel have that more bounce. So, I think it's like a 90-10% sort of thing. So like 10% of the time I may do that smooth walk, but majority of the time you have to get that bounce. And the bounce comes from not playing the keys detached. So it's like you're tapping when you're playing that left hand. That's one of the first most important characteristics of this style. Number 2 is to walk bass line through chord tones. And this is just a common theory as it relates to walking bass, because you constantly have this pulse going boom, boom, ba-doom, boom, boom. And so to avoid the monotony of staying on one note too long, you need other chord tone choices. So for example, if I'm playing a C7 chord, I can walk through that C7. Right? Another characteristics to bear in mind when you're walking bass line is that the first beat of every chord needs to be the root of that chord. So for example, if I'm just looping this one chord, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you see, every time I get back to 1, I'm on a C. And that's an important thing to keep track of as the chord changes. You have to make sure that the beginning of your chord has that beat 1. Now, if you want, you can beat 1, not beat 1. The root of the chord can also occur other places, but it must be on beat 1. So if I want, I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So I could put that root of the chord in other places throughout the measure, but I have to make sure that when beat 1 comes around, I'm landing on the root of the chord. Now, if I'm doing just bouncing between the root, the 1 chord and the 4 chord, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoops. I just went outside of my bass split register. But as you can see, even with a basic 1, 4, 5, beat 1 is always the root of whatever chord I'm supposed to be on. So that's very crucial for walking bass. Now, tip number 3 is to introduce neighboring diatonic tones, because sometimes, like, again, playing that C7, just going through the chord tones, it can get a little bit boring. So when we talk about introducing neighboring diatonic tones is notes belonging to the key. So we're in the key of C. So it means before going to E, I could use the D. I could use the D as a passing tone between C and E. Likewise, I could use the A between passing tone as a passing tone between G and that B flat. So you see? Even though I'm playing a C7, I can now introduce the D and the A. So then that gives me 6 chord tones that I can play in any order I want to keep that bass line interesting. Tip number 4 now is to introduce chromatic neighboring tones. And this is where things get interesting, which means, use our C7 as example again, it means I can do so I can then walk E flat up to E as chromatic passing tones, right? And that starts now to give me that bluesy sound in that bass line because the E flat belongs to the blues scale. That's the blues scale. So I can even see now, even when I'm going to that 4, I can descend with that F sharp because it's a chromatic passing tone, leading me to my F. And these chromatic passing tones, there's no rule to say you have to use it at this point or that point. The rule simply states that wherever your target tone is, you can approach it via a chromatic tone, whether diatonic or non-diatonic. So in this case, going from the 1 to the 4, I can go, walk all the way up. So you see what I'm saying? And the best way to get a hang of this, you have to practice it. Then you'll start to develop patterns to see what sounds good and what's easier. But then as you can see, I've pretty much at this point introduce all 12 tones of the piano on just playing between C and F with that walking bass. Tip number 5 is to repeated tones are acceptable. So even though we talk about, using neighboring tones, diatonic and chromatic neighboring tones as walking bass, that doesn't mean you can't repeat chord tones. So you might see me do stuff like, or when I'm doing that 3, 6, 2, 5. So I was bouncing twice on each chord tone. So that's another tool you have at your disposal. You can play repeated tones. You don't always have to play a new tone on every beat, because that sometimes can be a little bit difficult to keep new tones coming. So at times, when convenient, repeated tones work just fine. And the last tip I want to leave with you as it relates to playing the traditional gospel bass line is to keep the bass line interesting by walking both ascending and descending. So if you notice, I might start ascending, then descending, ascending, descending, descending, ascending. Now, one of the reasons why we need to do that, because for example, in this case, this is really the bass register I'm working with. Because if I go below this C, it starts to get really muddy. So I can't go too low. And I can't go too high, because after this F, I get into the mid register of the piano. I can't. So I really just have an octave and 2 notes, So to keep the bass line in that register, you kind of have to move ascending and descending as you need to, right? And that even goes for bass players, which is why bass players don't like when keyboard players playing their register, because they don't venture up too high into the keyboard's register. They hold down that bass line. And so I think most bass players stay within an octave and a half. Occasionally, they might span up to 2 octaves, but really the sweet spot for bass playing is within an octave to an octave and a half. In this case, I really would have liked to have 2 full octaves, because sometimes I like to go up to that middle C. But because of, I didn't want to have to keep playing most of my chords too high, so I just decided to drop the split right here. And that's probably what I would have done in a live setting if I was playing, because I really do have all the notes I need in that register, And so that's one of the things you have to do to keep it interesting. You don't want to play all your bass line ascending, else you're going to run out of notes and run out of the bass register very soon. So you have to constantly be going back and forth, up and down, right? Now, I mentioned that I have different speed of the backing track. I'm going to pull up the medium backing track, a little slower, and demonstrate that for you. Just look at how my left hand is moving up and down, right?
Jesus from the main line, tell him what you want. Jesus from the main line, tell him what you want. Jesus from the main line, tell him what you want. Call him up, tell him what you want. And if you want your body healed, tell him what you want. And if you want your body healed, tell him what you want. If you want your body healed, tell him what you want. Call him up, tell him what you want. Jesus on the main line, tell him what you want. Jesus on the main line, tell him what you want. Jesus on the main line, tell him.
So you see, You see just how I'm utilizing that bass line? And it does take practice and concentration. But sometimes I find myself venturing up into that upper register. So you really have to just remember that split point, that can't go past that E, and I don't want to go below that C, because for me, it gets too muddy. I go down to that G, it just gets too muddy, so I keep it within that register. So that's it. Those are the tips I have for you with playing traditional gospel bass line. Now, like I said, the MIDI file for everything I played in the intro is available for download along with all the versions of the backing track. So you can download that for free. The link is in the description of the video. Now, if this is something new to you, this is something you would like to get into, start learning this style of playing, the best way to approach it is hand separately. Make sure you know the chords of the song really well. You know, in this particular song, I was using some passing chords and some reharm stuff. But for the most part, make sure that you know the chords. Make sure that you practice your right-hand chords rootless voicing. All right? There are a lot of ways you can play these chords, a lot of voicing, but make sure that they're rootless voicing. Now, if you have the ability to record just the piano part, so you have something to play against, to hear that changes, do so. And then just practice that bass line, keeping in mind these tips that we mentioned. Trust me, you're going to mess up, you're going to fumble, you're going to play wrong notes because, you know, it's like a moving train with no brakes. It just keeps going and trying to make sure that you're getting there in time, making sure that you're counting, because that's the other thing, you got to be counting to making sure that you're not introducing more notes than you need to and miss landing on the correct note at the proper time. So all of that stuff you got to keep in mind. So you practice it slowly. And once you feel comfortable, when you're bringing that right hand, bringing it simple. So just play basic blocked chords. So you know what I mean? So just block so you can really focus on that. And as you get better, then you can start to put in variation of rhythms. All right, so that's all I have for you guys today. Trust this video was enlightening, entertaining, and educational. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, the notification bell, so you can stay notified when we post new content. At this point, we have probably over 400 videos here on the channel, ranging from beginner to advanced on all different style of gospel. Lot of stuff here, so you can dive into that and stay subscribed for new material. Lastly, if you want to take your playing even further beyond the scope of YouTube, where you need structured lesson plans, structured video with quizzes and ear training apps and a practice path and a community of gospel musicians, all of that stuff is available over at pianolessonwithwarren.com. And right now we're running a $1 trial where you can get access to the entire program for 7 days for $1. And you can see if it's right for you. Right now we have a couple hundred students going through the program. And at this point we've had over 10,000 students who have passed through the program over there, learning how to improve their gospel piano and how to play by ear. For many years, there's been a misconception that playing by ear is a gift, something you just kind of just know how to do or you don't know how to do. I'm here to tell you that's not true. Just like how you can learn to read music from a score, you can learn to play by ear as well. There is a practical and proven method to do so. So you're not wandering, guessing, and just kind of fumbling. There is a better way of doing it that is more structured and straightforward and help you to get to your goal faster. And over at pianolessonwithwarren.com, we believe we have that plan and that program. So head over there, check it out. Until then, keep listening, keep singing, keep practicing, and I'll catch you in the next tutorial. Bye for now.